Hello and welcome on www.thepapare.com, Sri Lanka's #1 sports hub. We just concluded the women's final. My apologies, women's final of the National Squash Championship 2021, and here we are to witness the men's final of the 40th National Squash Championship. We are bringing you the live pictures from SSC Squash Courts Complex. Ravindu Laksiri will be taking on Shameel Wakeel in this 40th National Squash Championship men's final. I have Naduni and Gyan joining with me in commentary for the men's final as well. Gyan, let's move on to you. Ravindu Laksiri, his experienced campaigner, won the national champion. He's been the national champion for 7 consecutive times. Can he defend the title successfully? What do you think?
It's actually a tough call to make beginning of the match because both players are equally good. The young players that we have in Sri Lanka, the top 2 players, Shameel Wakeel and Ravindu Laksiri, they both have been practicing. They are full-time squashers in Sri Lanka, the only 2 full-time squash players in Sri Lanka. So last year also they were in Malaysia for practices, so they are both experienced. They have played in these courts, they have played at this level, they have played international. So we're just witnessing another finals between Ravindu and Shameel. There was an appeal for an interference and it's a let. Both players have an attacking game. They are both very powerful players. They love to go for their shots. They have their styles, but they are both attacking players. They have a lot of power in them.
We can see some long rallies than the women's national final.
There, Shameel thought that Ravindu will appeal for a let, but Ravindu decided to play the shot for a half court in front, and Shameel was confused there.
We can see Ravindu making some unforced error at the beginning of the game, which is not his usual.
There was an appeal for another interference. The decision given let, a replay. So in the game of men's events, you can see a lot of appeals because the game is very fast, fast-moving players. So obviously there will be a lot of interference in the game.
We can see the ball traveling more than the women's.
We can see Shameel playing a very attacking game. He's going for all his shots that he has in the front court, going for all the winners. Shameel leading by 3 points, 4-1. That's another point to Shameel. Still, Ravindu did not get any chance to go for his winners. We can see Ravindu trying to recover and trying to keep the ball in play. waiting for his chance, waiting for his opportunity. Yeah, exactly. So Ravindu and Shameel has been dominating the finals of of the men's events for the last 4 to 5 years, and playing amongst themselves in the finals. We can see Shameel making some errors, and now Ravindu trying to get back to his game. Ravindu does not make unforced errors usually. We can see very rare unforced errors by Ravindu. He's very selective when he goes for a winner. He's a collected player, so he has his shots that he picks based on the game. We can see Shameel going for more winners and making unforced errors.
We can see some difference between Shameel and Ravindu when they attempt to play their shot. I think Ravindu is more with steps and Shameel is more of running to the ball, because Ravindu has long limbs and he's making use of them to get to the balls.
And Ravindu is very stable on his feet. He anchors himself when he goes for a shot, whereas you can see Shameel is always, I can see lack of balance when he goes for shots. He always goes and try to play something, whereas Ravindu takes his time and he anchors himself. He's balanced on his feet, and you can see easily Ravindu catching up, and now points tallying up 5-all.
Well, I think once Ravindu settles down for his game, it's Shameel who makes the unforced errors. Now we don't see any errors by Ravindu.
That's another shot by Ravindu. The ball came to the middle court, and Ravindu took it off. A volley shot across court to the forehand.
I mean, speaking of that, I think the reaction speed of these players are immensely high.
I think squash is all about anticipating. You have only, less than milliseconds to decide and capture the ball when it's in the air. We can see a lot of errors by Shameel. Most of the shots going to the tin.
Squash is one of the world's fastest games, so with that I think what sort of potential our players have here with anticipation, flexibility, and also with their flexors.
That was a nice recovery shot by Ravindu, where they went for front court drops. And Ravindu wanted more time, and he lifted the ball as a lob, and it came to the cross court, forehand, back court, and Shameel got himself stuck there without being able to recover from that shot.
Adding on to that, we can see Ravindu playing some careful shots here.
I think that's Ravindu's game. He's very careful. He would keep the ball in play. And in comparing the two players, Ravindu is far fitter than Shameel. Ravindu is well ahead in terms of the fitness. There was another appeal. Ravindu was right in front of the ball, and it's a replay. Referee's call.
I mean, being the usual finalist, I think both of them knows one another's strong points and weak points. I think playing in this final for the last 5 years, they both know each other's game pretty well.
There was another appeal by Ravindu, but it was given a no let. Ravindu is not happy with the decision by the referee. One of the areas these players, both Ravindu and Shameel, needs to improve is changing their games according to the situation. But if you look at their games throughout the history, they have been playing the same game. And if you play 5 games, their decisions, their styles, their thinking will be the same. Their shots are the same. So I think both players, especially Shameel, lacks this area pretty much. He would play the same game no matter what the circumstance is.
The last few points went very quickly, I think.
One more point for Ravindu, 10-6, game ball. We can see an unforced error after a long rally, where Ravindu taking the first game. So Shameel was leading 4-love, and then from the 5th point onwards, Ravindu recovered and won the first game.
Well, we have Fatou Misadin, the national champion for 2021. Congratulations. How do you feel?
Alhamdulillah, I feel really happy, and I'm really thankful for the Federation and the Ministry giving us the opportunity to have the nationals this year amidst the pandemic. So yeah, alhamdulillah.
You were leading it 2-love, but then Sinali came back and made it 2-all, and you had to fight out there for the final set. How was the pressure? How was the game?
Well, I was really happy because, of course, with the pandemic, none of us had trained much. I didn't train much as well. So I was happy to pull through somehow, and alhamdulillah, I'm really happy with the result.
Thank you, Fatum. Congratulations from the ThePapare.com team as well for defending your title successfully for
Thank you so
2021.
much.
And thank you very much for joining with us. Ladies and gentlemen, you're witnessing the men's final of the National Squash Championship 2021. Ravindu Laksiri taking on Shameel Wakeel. And the first set just concluded, but well, we cannot predict anything because as you saw in the women's final that was just concluded a little while ago, it was 2-love for a while and then it was 2-all, and it was a cracking final set to decide the winner. So it's a very unpredictable game, just like all the other sports, and we will have to sit and watch to see who's going to be crowned the national champion in the men's category. Will Ravindu Laksiri defend his title for the 8th consecutive time? Will he not? We will have to wait and see. It's the 2-minute break after the first set. We are waiting for the players to come back onto the court to get on with the game, and reminding you, the good news is that wherever sports is resuming, ThePapare.com will be there. So don't forget to subscribe to ThePapare.com, and don't forget to follow us on our social media platforms and know everything that's happening around the sporting world, around the globe in terms of sports, as we will bring you everything right to your doorstep. Naduni, from your point of view, we couldn't talk about the men's final before the start of the game. We had Gihan's point of view. Will Ravindu successfully go on to win this championship for the 8th time?
Speaking of that, Ravindu has been taking on Shameel, I think in the last 5 consecutive national finals, whereas he's the defending champion of the national titles of Sri Lanka with 7 times. I think after Naveen Samrasinghe, I think Ravindu is one of the most youngest players who've gained the national title, and he's been, ever since that, he's been able to retain his title, whereas I think Shameel was fighting for the title over the last 4 or 5 years, and we've seen both of them in consecutive finals throughout the last 5-6 years. So I think when we speak of who has the more advantage and who is having more of the game here, I think, well, in my point of view, Ravindu has better chance. I mean, he is on the advantage because he knows Shamil's game pretty well. They're both from the same school, being playing squash together. I think over the last 10 to 15 years together, practicing together, being in the national team together. So I think Ravindu knows Shamil's game and Shamil knows Ravindu's game, but Ravindu is more experienced because Ravindu has been in the international arena, I think, since he was about 10, 11 years. He's been in the international arena playing in the junior and even at senior levels. He's been a consecutive member of the national team, and Shamil as well. But I think Ravindu has a more consistent game than Shamil, and he seems much fitter than Shamil. But we saw that Shamil giving a good fight in the first few points of the first set. This might be a very close game because Shamil is fighting hard to at least become the national champion once in his squash career, because he's been to the final 5 times and not been able to gain the title. So I think he's giving his best 100% to gain this title at least once.
We can see the second game, points are 1-all. We saw an argument between Shamil and the referees, where Shamil was not happy with a decision that the referees gave for the previous interference. There we have Ravindu Laksiri, 2-1. Ravindu is very consistent in his shots and in his style, in his way of playing. There we have the referee's decision. Ball was down.
Ravindu seems disappointed with that decision. He was very confident in that good shot.
That was another down to the tin by Ravindu. And we have Shamil leading 3-2.
Speaking of Ravindu's shot accuracy, he's usually not making this sort of errors. I have not actually in my career I have not seen Ravindu making such errors, but I think he's taking some time to settle down here today.
And I also think 1 year of not playing tournaments has impacted this what we are witnessing now. It's only 3 days that the tournament has started, so it's only 3 days that all the players are playing matches after a gap of 1 year. So obviously we can expect certain things that we have not experienced previously over the years.
I think that's definitely the case here. I mean, he's not been in competition for over a year here.
We saw a beautiful winner by Shamil on the backhand. A cross-court drop to the backhand, from the backhand to the forehand, and it was a nick where there is no bounce and there is no chance the opponent can take it.
We can see more lovely shots coming off the players here than in the first game.
There was an appeal by Ravindu Laksiri, and it's a point to Ravindu. There was clear interference from the middle of the court. Shamil did not make an effort to move out. The points are 4-all. We can see both players playing a fast game, trying to wait for the chance to go for that winning shot. There we have another unforced error by Shameel Wakeel.
I think both the players are waiting for one another to make the mistake. They're trying to keep the game fast, wait for the opportunity without making any mistakes.
We have another appeal. Yeah, we have a replay because of the interference. There we have a beautiful drop on the forehand by Shameel Wakeel. I think now he's playing smart. He's waiting for that opportunity where the ball comes halfway and then he goes for his shot without just trying to go for every shot to a winner.
I think Shameel is trying to make the maximum of any opportunity he gets here, whereas I think Ravindu is kind of still trying to keep the ball in play even though he gets the opportunity to play a shot.
There we saw another error by Shameel Wakeel, giving the service back to Ravindu Laksiri. Ravindu leading 6-5. That was another tin. It's a down.
We can see a lot of patience in Ravindu when he goes for the shots and plays for the shot.
I think now you can clearly see the body languages of the two players, where Ravindu is fit and ready for the service, whereas Shameel taking more time and trying to come back to the service box.
I think that is what makes Ravindu feel more comfortable inside the court, that he is
Ravindu's
fit.
strength is his physical ability. He's one of the fittest Scotch players in Sri Lanka, and he can keep the ball in play for hundreds of shots in a similar rally. We can see a lot of fast cross courts being exchanged among the players, trying to move the players up and down and to the sides of the court. There we have another half court. There we have a good shot by Ravindu Laksiri, where Shameel, I think, slipped right in the middle of the court, right at the center. We hope that nothing happened to Shameel's ankles and he's fit to continue.
I think Ravindu is requesting to be mopped.
It was a very good deceptive shot where Shameel had to react very fast.
Brilliant sportsmanship depicted by Ravindu at that point, going on to his opponent and checking on whether he's okay. It's more than a game always, and that's the message that they have to carry for the younger generation as well, to whoever who's watching it from home. It's a very important message set by the senior generation of any sport.
There was another appeal by Ravindu Laksiri, asking for a straight interference, and definitely the point goes to Ravindu in that instance. Ravindu leading by 4 points, 9-5. The second game of the Men's National Championship 2020. That is another beautiful drive from Ravindu on the forehand.
With that, Ravindu is on the game point.
There's another interference, and definitely the point goes to Ravindu once again. 11-5. It was an easy game for Ravindu compared to the first game. Shameel did not make any attempt to go for much winners in the second game, whereas Ravindu got plenty of opportunities on the strokes, and free points given by Shameel by hitting down. And I think it's a clear sign of physical ability of Ravindu to keep the play going on, whilst Shameel is now lacking fitness and not being able to keep up with the fast game as Ravindu.
I think we didn't see Shameel's game towards the end of that set. He was back on his usual shots in the first 5 points maybe, and after that I think we did not see the same attempt by Shameel, whereas Ravindu was dominating the game after that.
The issue with the flow, Naduni, how difficult it is, sweat drops everywhere. It's a common thing in indoor sports, badminton, volleyball. It's a very common thing. But as players, how challenging it is and how best can you manage such situation?
Well, in squash, this is a very fast-moving sport where you actually don't have any time to even see what's on the floor when you go for the shot. So, I think it's good to know that the flow is clean and available for the players to play their usual game, because it's very risky, especially like a fast-moving game like squash, because it's more of your ankles, your knees that you require to play this game. So I think it's very important to have your sweat off the floor.
Also, Gihan, moving on to a point that you made earlier about the playing style of both Ravindu and Shameel, the thinking, the strategies, they've been same for quite some time. And, from one can say it's an hindrance to the development of the sport because they are not changing or they are not getting better. How do you see this, and do you think that, if maybe the opponents change in this concept, will this situation be better?
I think that's definitely you're spot on, because even when we go international as a team, what we lack is that maturity to change the game compared to the situation, and to meet the situation in that instance. So I think what we lack in Sri Lanka is that the guidance and the coaching, because we don't have a international coaching setup in Sri Lanka. So just very recently we had level 2 programs being conducted in Sri Lanka, and couple of coaches were qualified with that. So I think now it will start changing. But these two players, not only these two, the entire national senior teams have been very unfortunate to not being coached in that particular thinking pattern. We have the third game starting. 2-love, Ravindu leading the first two games, and we can see Ravindu is very stable, taking all the shots from the middle.
We can see more proactive moves from Ravindu. I think he's very confident in playing his shots.
Ravindu picking up all the winners that Shameel is trying to play.
Ravindu tends to keep the first few points in a long rally.
There we can see Ravindu just keeping the ball in play to the right, to the left, to the front and the back, where Shameel is kept on moving back and forth, and we can see that he's drenched out.
I mean, as their usual opponents, I think Ravindu knows Shameel's weak point on not having a lot of physical fitness when it comes to the third, fourth and fifth sets.
Of course, we have always experienced that after the first game or second game, Ravindu has an easy win over Shameel Wakeel because of the fitness abilities. That's one area that Shameel needs to improve.
We can see some good shots by Shameel sometimes, even though he's tired. That was an unforced error by Shameel. Easy point to Ravindu. 3-1.
There we have a beautiful service by Ravindu and taking a point off the service. It's a very rare instance at the senior level that you win points over the service. There's another interference by Shameel Wakeel and the point goes to Ravindu. And Ravindu leading 5-1.
We can see the points moving very fast in this third game. We can see the outcomes of the first long rally that Shameel is making a lot of errors here.
Shameel just wants to get some points and he's going for most of the winners, whereas Ravindu is trying to keep the ball safe.
Yeah, as you said, I think Shameel is trying all his shots here to get points, whereas Ravindu is keeping to his cool and calm game.
There we can see Shameel not even trying to make an effort to go to the ball because we can see signs of giving up. That was a beautiful forehand drop.
In speaking of that, I think Ravindu anticipated for that shot way early than expected.
So far, Shameel has only managed to get 1 point in the third game. And we have the second point just now being taken with a backhand front court drop. There we have, ladies and gentlemen, 1 more point for Ravindu Laksiri to become the 8th time national champion in Sri Lanka. There we have Ravindu Laksiri winning over Shameel Wakeel and securing the 8th consecutive national championship.
Ravindu Laksiri winning the 8th consecutive national championship, beating Shameel Wakeel. Those are the set scores for you: 11-6, 11-5, 11-2. An easy win for Ravindu. Thank you very much, Gihan Suarez and Naduni Gunwadana, for joining with us in the combox for the 40th National Squash Championship. And we are very proud to have brought you the live action of this right onto your screen. Fatou Mizuddin defended her title, successfully winning the women's champion. This venue right before, and Ravindu Laksiri just won the 8th championship in his career consecutively. So good signs, and it's a very good sign for everybody who's watching at home as well, because sport is slowly resuming in Sri Lanka. And as you all know, ThePapare.com, Sri Lanka's #1 sports hub. Wherever it happens, we will be always there to bring you the live action. Stay locked, stay tuned, as we will be back with more action, and hopefully very soon when sports resume and when things are getting back in Sri Lanka. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for joining with us. Lilu Makumara and the crew signing off from SSC Squash Courts Complex. Keep sharing the passion together with ThePapare.com.
premium content and exclusive member benefits. Subscribe to thepapare.com today.